Coming to you live following the second spring scrimmage of this session. I'm Eric Cain alongside Ben Mckee, VolQuest.com. Ben, it is what it was, man. I mean, it was cold, there was sleeting, it was snowing. Then the sun came out and it felt good. There were so many guys out, typical spring practice. But what's the biggest thing that caught your eye over the hour and a half we were outside today?
Yeah, I mean, you've got to take it with a grain of salt. There's just too many players out due to injury, and most of them are precautionary. I think that is key to note. If they were fall practice, I'm sure several of the guys who did not participate, a Cooper Mays, a Jabari Small, guys like that Cedric Tillman, I'm sure they would have played. There's just so many walk-ons practicing right now on the defensive side of the ball. It's truly hard to have a firm takeaway. For instance, Jimmy Callaway caught a swing pass in the end zone and reversed it like he was in high school.
Looked great. Yeah, it
was a great play, but it was against a walk-on or a defense full of walk-ons.
Yeah,
and in an actual scrimmage against other D1 players, and in an actual game, he's not getting away with that. That was high school stuff. So that's why you have to kind of take things with a grain of salt. The two really things that stood out to me is one, and more individual. I'll let you talk about offensive line because I know that was one thing that you mentioned to me that was your biggest takeaway. But aside from the freshman offensive line having a rough day, Trayvon Flowers stood out to me. A couple of Fridays ago in one of the war rooms, either Brent or Austin had a note on him about maybe he's this year's Theo Jackson, and I saw it today. He called out 2 or 3 plays pre-snap, and the defense was able to get a tackle for a loss in the backfield. On one specifically, he was yelling.
That's work right there.
Yeah, he was screaming, screen, and Tamarion McDonald heard him and had a tackle for a loss as a result. So I really, to be honest with you, don't have any glaring takeaways, but that was the one player that stood out to me the most in terms of making some things happen was Trayvon Flowers. He seemed to be the leader of the defense.
Yeah, I'm glad you brought up the name there, and maybe it was because of some teamwork, and that's good to see from Trayvon Flowers. I thought Tamarion McDonald stood out, man. I mean, it's no secret, Ben. I think we can all agree that the last regime was much higher on Tamarion McDonald than this one. But because of injuries and everything, he got the start, if you want to call it that, a star, played a lot of star. And I saw him make a couple plays, specifically on those screens. And so he flashed to me a little bit. I thought Elijah Herring made some plays. He had, there was one time where as bad as the offensive line for the freshmen struggled, the 2 defensive freshmen on the defensive line, Jordan Phillips and Tyree Westlaw played well. There was one play, Tyree West went up there and batted the ball down. Elijah Simmons picked it off at the pick 6. So I thought, he made some plays. And then it was the struggles of those freshman offensive line, not just Addison Nichols, who, again, let's remind everybody listening right now, he had never snapped a football 10 days ago, right? I mean, this is all brand new to him, and the offense literally starts with the center. He had several bad snaps. I'm not talking 5 or 6, more than that. Josh Hyde was not worried about it, saying after the scrimmage that he's going to be a great one. Brian Grant, you see the makeup. You even made a note of that. You see the makeup, why they like him there.
Big old boy.
Yeah, a lot to learn. And I thought Maurice Clipper just was overpowered a couple of times. But, we'll see how those guys, continue to progress. Offensively, at the very beginning, it was a short day for Hendon Hooker, but following a couple of nice Jalen Wright runs, able to connect with, was it Jacob Warren?
Yep.
For a touchdown.
Yeah, Jacob Warren, and Josh Heupel said afterwards that today was more about play count rather than a set rotation of, Hendon gets the first drive, and then Joe Milton gets the second drive. Taven Jackson gets the third drive. We also saw Gaston Moore. We saw Navy Schuler. But it was all about play count rather than rotating series. And I believe that was the only series or 2 series that Hendon played in today, along with the ones. And it was a very slow, methodical drive that we saw many times last year. A couple screens to the perimeter to Jalen Hyatt, Ramel Keaton. I thought the throw of the day was Joe Milton. He had a really nice throw that was just on the money to Ramel Keaton down the sideline. Ramel Keaton beat Desmond Williams one-on-one. It looked like a go route, and Joe just put it perfectly on the money. So, again, really hard to take anything away from the offense just because they were going up against mostly walk-ons all day long, specifically second team and third team. The first team defense was mostly out there. You had Byron Young, Tyler Barron on opposite side of one another.
One note I will say, and I meant to say it earlier, about all the injuries to the cornerback position. Christian Charlton didn't even play today.
Yes.
And so you literally had Desmond Williams and a walk-on.
Yeah.
And that was first team. So imagine the second, third team.
Yeah, and the second team, Jackson Hanna, the walk-on linebacker from Nebraska,
Yeah.
he was filling in as the backup star, the backup nickel guy. So that tells you about Tennessee's depth issues. Part of it's injury, part of it's where the program is in just year two. And Josh Heupel said, "Hey, recruits, listening, watching. Look, you see our need for talent and depth. So, Hendon Hooker looked good. They look like they should. Jacob Bourne had a nice touchdown catch. Jalen Wright had some nice runs. Leneath Whitehead had a nice run up the middle.
Thought he had a good day
on the second team. So overall, a good day for both the first team offense and the first team defense.
Yeah, I just think the biggest takeaway was freshmen looked like freshmen today. And again, that is okay. I thought Justin Williams, though he had a couple of nice runs, a couple times got arm tackled, a couple times didn't know where he was going. We mentioned the struggles of the freshman offensive linemen. Thought the two defensive linemen looked well, but again, all things considered.
And on Justin Williams, Josh Heupel said afterwards that was the best he has looked in spring so far, that today was his best day. He liked the speed and aggressiveness that he was playing with.
Justin Williams-Thomas, excuse me. It's two last names. Justin Williams-Thomas. Quickly on the receivers, Ramel Keaton, I thought, was okay. Jimmy, it was Keaton on one side with Tillman out. It was Holiday on the other, and then Jalen Hyatt in the middle. Keaton, you mentioned the catch that he made from Joe Milton, who I second that. I think Joe Milton played a good game today. But overall, the receivers, anything noteworthy? Chaz Nimrod didn't play. Cameron Miller didn't play. Again, just tons and tons of guys that were not dressed out today.
Yeah, Squirrel White, little guy.
Yeah.
But that's okay because he's a speedster. That wasn't nothing out of the ordinary. Caleb Webb looked good in pads.
Oh, he did. I noticed that too.
Like Randy Moss out there, right?
We maybe we literally have seen him out at practice, but something about that orange jersey with the name on his back, it looked a little different. I also made a mental note of that.
I just think that, and Tennessee's trending in the direction of doing so. They need to go add another receiver from the transfer portal.
Yeah, which they will. Yeah.
And they will. It's just they have Cedric Tillman. I just don't know if they have any go-to guys after Cedric Tillman. So, again, I hate to continue to emphasize it. Just hard to take anything away from the receivers because you had one healthy corner all day long. You had a walk-on linebacker as the backup nickelback on the day. So nothing really to take away in terms of performance, but taking away the personnel of the first wide receiver rotation and the second wide receiver rotation. Jimmy Holiday playing outside, and then Ramel and Jalen were the other two on the first team because of Cedric Tillman being hurt.
Yep. Again, last thing I'll say, I thought the defensive line, all things considered, first and second team looked pretty good, and that is a continued work in progress as well. So, again, not a whole lot to take away, but we did get to watch a little over an hour's worth of Tennessee football, which is the most we've got to see all spring. So we'll have plenty of observations that'll be up on the general quarters. We'll have the 2-minute drill. We'll have Heupel, photo gallery potentially. We got a whole lot of stuff, plus recruiting. Tons and tons of recruiting coverage coming your way. Big weekend here on Rocky Top is, I guess now they're just 4 practices away from calling it a spring practice season. So for Ben McKee, I am Eric Cain. Appreciate you guys listening right here at VolQuest.com.